Hey guys, this is Jake Calder of JAYONBOXING here with a preview and predictions for the Jake Paul versus Mike Perry card. And as always, these are just my takes. Your predictions, your take, all that good stuff can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. But before we get started, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It definitely helps out the channel and I greatly appreciate it. And a little bit of show info here. This will be headlined by Jake Paul versus Mike Perry. This will be at the AMALIE Arena in Tampa, Florida, airing on DAZN pay-per-view. That's right, pay-per-view, in the Cruiserweight division with obviously no titles on the line. In the featured fight, we'll see Amanda Serrano taking on Stevie Morgan in junior welterweight action, of course, and in this one there will also be no titles on the line. So, a bit of a weird card. These ones are always sort of strange. Initially, you have Paul, who was to face Mike Tyson. Weird sentence, I didn't think I'd say, but that was postponed for health issues with Mike. Serrano was to face rival Katie Taylor in a rematch as well on that card, but that too was postponed for the bigger Paul Tyson card, which will be happening later this year. So now, we have Paul taking on the BKFC/MMA fighter Mike Perry and Serrano with an unheralded Stevie Morgan across from her. Odd, but here we are. So with all that in mind, let's get to some of the biggest questions heading into this card. First question that pops up to me is going to be, can Perry actually pull off the upset? Perry is a legit fighter. Maybe isn't the best boxer or the guy with the most experience in this particular sport, but he's a fighter. The issue for Perry will be familiarity with boxing specifically and against a naturally much bigger dude in Jake Paul as well. Paul is a solid 185 to 195 for most of his fights. He also has a bit more reach on Perry and can bang. It's going to be tricky for Mike. That said, if he can get inside and make it a rough fight, particularly late, he will likely have his best chance, especially if he piles on the pressure. I would also ask, how does Serrano perform at 140 pounds? As Serrano has gotten a bit older and moves up in weight a few times, she has been a bit less effective than her best years. To be expected naturally. With Morgan, who certainly lacks the quality opponents or experience that Serrano has, she's still going to be facing a 140-pound fighter who is natural for the weight. Serrano holds gold at 126 pounds. That's not nothing in terms of a gap. The rematch with Taylor is at 140 pounds, and Taylor has performed well enough at the weight, obviously, by winning the championships there. So you want to hope for Serrano's sake she can handle the likes of Morgan if she's to reverse her fate with Taylor. And finally, does Jake Paul still move the needle? To be honest, you ain't hearing a whole bunch about this fight or this card in general, so it's a question that definitely needs to spring to mind. That said, it is sort of a filler fight, a replacement fight at the very least, for that Tyson fight later this year. You would still have to be honest, though, and say that even Paul versus Tyson wasn't getting all that good a press. Yes, all press is good press, but that's only if it's not about, a young dude beating up an old man with failing health. That's not always the greatest push for selling a fight. It might get people talking, but not necessarily purchasing. That being said, this Perry fight is on pay-per-view. I can imagine it will not do well. You have to wonder if the novelty is wearing off with Paul and how, without fighting a live, active light heavyweight or cruiserweight, can he really turn this around or sell this fight? In any event, without much more ado, let's break these fights down. Starting off with the main event, and Paul here, for Paul, you have a long, solid jab when you work it. Against the much smaller fighter with much less reach, the jab is a wonderful tool. Not only does it help control distance, but it's also going to set up your power shots when and if Perry tries rushing in. It forces him to get more aggressive, to try and get around the stick, and then you can catch him with that right hand that is your money shot. This can also help settle you down and keep you fighting within yourself. At times, you can get wild. You don't want to feed into that, and certainly not what most benefits Perry, which is a more wild fight. Instead, start off with that quick, stiff jab and work into landing that left hook right hand down the middle. Cleaner, more effective work, and it helps set up your money punch as mentioned, especially going into those middle frames. And that can be done from the outside and that mid-range. You don't need to be in close in that phone booth. Again, get in and out. A closer up fight takes away your advantages and definitely benefits Perry. If Perry does get inside, you're a bit more athletic for your size, so certainly turn him. Catch him and reset. Do not linger where Perry can land and has his best chance. So work that jab, set up the cleaner work, and be sure to set the rage and tempo that best suits you and your success in this fight. Now, switching over to Perry, you're the smaller man, and you're going to need to get inside. You will need to want to close that gap, and that's what needs to happen. One way of doing that is by using head movement and throwing over-the-top shots on your way in. It might force Paul to move straight back, and then you can close distance and get to some of your more effective work. The right hand over the top specifically for you can be beneficial. Once inside, it should be more of a volume game. You have decent pop, no doubt, but overcommitting against the bigger man that also has some pop might be a mistake, so just let your hands go and then worry about the bigger stuff later on. Outside of the overhand right going, and you also throw a solid lead right hand, and if you're throwing that at the right time, it can definitely be successful. Throw it when Paul is cornered or perhaps out of position and you can find the mark, especially down the stretch when Paul might be getting winded. Just don't overcommit to the shots from too far out. Again, once you get his timing, let Paul be the one darting in and out and catching him with it. Then you're not falling in, you're stepping in as Paul backs up in straight lines and getting busier closer up, particularly if Paul fades as mentioned. So find your way inside, use that overhand right to do so, as well as the lead right hand when Paul steps into his work or backs up in that straight line, and then stay busy when in close as the rounds wear on. And in terms of my pick here, if both men were closer in size, I actually might go Perry, but I do think the reach and power of Paul will be too much. I think he controls the range, catches Mike coming in a bit too wild at times, and lands the big right hand that hurts Perry. Perry might get up, but Paul breaks him down just a bit more and earns the stoppage with a flurry soon thereafter. Winner, Jake Paul via mid-fight stoppage. And in terms of my quick picks here, we have Amanda Serrano, as mentioned, taking on Stevie Morgan in 140-pound action. You know, Serrano is the favorite in this one, but she has some concerns for sure. Morgan is the naturally bigger fighter and can bang a little bit. I wasn't able to find a ton of footage on her, but she seems solid in what I did find. That said, I think Serrano can keep busy and land the faster, more crisp shots that pay off for her, particularly down the stretch, as she can create a bit of a gap in the scorecards. The speed and accuracy of the shots is what will create the difference and, again, allow for her to win this fight particularly late. Might be a bit closer than previous Serrano fights, but I do think she gets the job done. Winner, Amanda Serrano via unanimous decision. And in terms of the betting odds here, I haven't been able to find much, but I did find the straight up line between Paul and Perry, and they're fairly close. You have Paul coming in at a -300, with Perry at a +230. Pretty much 3-to-1 odds for Paul. Actually not terrible odds for Paul if you're trying to put in that kind of mid-range bet. In my opinion, that's something that I would actually look at there. Again, you also find the underdog attractive to you here. You're getting almost 2.5-to-1 there. That's a decent bit of pick in there in my opinion as well. Again, just kind of depends on what you're leaning towards there, but you can probably justify a small or a mid-sized bet for either guy in this one. But in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 34-15 with 15 exact. But let me know your thoughts, bets, your picks, all that good stuff down in the comments. And of course, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow. And of course, check out all the socials here. And be sure to visit JAYONBOXING.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, and more. And as always, until next time.